education.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode, Good Health by Claudia podcast with me, Denny Schaefer, along with the talent, Claudia. This is a production of Denny Radio. It is episode 103. 103.
Nice.
We're very excited. And we're very excited for all the feedback we get.
Yeah.
I was in your store Saturday, and somebody said, "Hey, I liked your podcast. Your 100th episode was really good." I'm getting more people talking to me about this podcast than ever before. And that's because you guys are sharing the podcast.
It's fun. Thank you.
So
very fun.
Keep doing it. Share this one. Put your questions in the comments, all of that. And today we're going to be talking shrooms.
Yes, we are.
Talking mushrooms, not the magic kind. Because I was telling a buddy of mine yesterday, he goes, "Yeah, Claudia and I are going to do an episode on mushrooms." And first thing out of his mouth, "The magic kind?" I'm like, no, there's others besides the magic mushroom.
Well, they are magical, just in a different way. They're wonderful, right? For the brain, the immune system. And
that's why we're going to the National Science Educator and Herbal Storyteller at House Defense. He's been on with us before, hasn't he?
Yes, absolutely.
Please welcome to the podcast, Tom Dadant.
Yay!
Hello, Tom. Welcome.
Hi, Tom.
Welcome back.
Save the applause. Yeah.
So you are the mushroom guy. Tell us about your background and how there's so many different ways you can go when it comes to, your health and all natural and all that. You focused on mushrooms and fungi.
Well, I'll tell you, it's not that long of a trail, although it's got a lot of side trips. I was an organic farmer in Hawaii in 1970 and segued from that to a vegetarian restaurant, segued from that to a juice company for making juice for doctors and their patients, dentists and their patients for juice fasting. So very, very grounded in the natural industry.
Yes.
Decided to get a job finally, besides, doing my own stuff, and worked for a company called Threshold, which is a distribution company. They had over 250 lines that they were distributing.
When he worked with that company.
That's right, exactly, Claudia. And I was the trainer, the educator for Planetary Herbals, which is an herbal company that was, the formulations were created by Dr. Michael Tierra and his wife, Leslie Tierra, both amazing acupuncturists and herbalists. And at some point, it became really clear. I had met Paul Stamets, the owner of Host Events. We realized we had a lot of mutual benefits, a mutual interest. And he contacted me through his vice president and asked me if I would come join him because they were going to do an experiment using mushroom extracts for honeybees. And it was because my last name, pronounced by my family a little bit differently than I do, but they pronounce it Dadant. Dadant and Sons is a massive beekeeping manufacturing facility. Company that's been around it's now going in its 7th generation.
Wow.
My great-great-grandfather co-invented the modern day beehive, brought it from a straw dome to a wooden box, immigrated to this country in the middle of the Civil War, moved to the side of the Mississippi River in Illinois, and we've been making beekeeping supplies ever since. So Paul and I had a mutual interest in honeybees. I decided, okay, I'm going to go work for Paul. I think this sounds like a good time for a change. And that's been 9 years ago now, and still exciting, still fascinating. So many things about mushrooms to learn. And part of it is that we share so much of our DNA with mushrooms. We share 55% or more of our DNA with mushrooms. We only share around 30%. And as an herbalist, Claudia goes, wow, yeah. As an herbalist, I always was, big on herbs. And when I started working for Host Defense, they told me, well, we only share about 34% of our genes with plants. We share 55% of our genes with mushrooms, which is why they work so well for so many things.
Amazing.
Who knew?
Yeah.
Is there an echo?
I don't think there's an echo. Are you hearing an echo, Tom?
I'm not hearing an echo at all.
Okay. I think either your phone has been ringing, or you must be very important, because it seems like people are trying to get it, because we're hearing a ringing every now and then. Are you getting any phone calls while we're chatting?
I did at the very, very, very beginning when you guys were talking, but now there's nothing.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, continue. That was this great story.
No, that is a great story. I
Yeah.
mean, who knew?
That's why he's known as the herbal storyteller.
I love it. All right. So where do we start, Claudia? Where do we start with, you know?
Why don't we start with the head and we'll work our way down?
Say it again.
I said we can start with our head and we can work our way down, because one of the most popular mushrooms right now, even amongst the medical genre, is lion's mane mushroom. And lion's mane has the ability to work with our stem cells in our body. So as you know, stem cells are cells in the body that can create any cell in the body. They can repair your liver. They can repair your kidneys. They can repair your eyes. They can repair your hair. That's our stem cells. Lion's mane has the ability to stimulate those stem cells to become nerve tissue and to regenerate the nerves.
That is very exciting. That is very cool.
Is this the one you want me to show?
That's the one. That's Brain Power Stack. Now, Brain Power Stack is a way to really hyper actuate the lion's mane itself, because there's literally, in a single serving of the Brain Power Stack, there is almost the equivalent of 3 capsules. And included with that is some niacin in the form of nicotinic acid. Now, people are very familiar with niacin. It's very important for our energy and everything else. One of the things about it, though, is that it helps our brain to function much more effectively. And the niacin in there is a flush niacin. So we're you know, in the industry, we're all about, oh, we got to do no flush niacin because people don't like that little flush that they get. But that flush is actually helping to move blood up into the brain, up into the neck and shoulders. That's where you want all of the compounds from lion's mane to go to benefit your brain. And what it does is it's helping to accentuate the energy that's transferring information inside the brain. So it's supporting that transfer of information from neuron to neuron to neuron to neuron. And part of that is because it's been shown that it facilitates and supports the regrowth of what are called neurites. And those neurites reach out and connect with each other in the neurons and transfer information. So, you know,
that's important stuff, man.
It's very important stuff.
It's very important, especially because there's a growing population of people dealing with cognitive decline. So this is really exciting.
And really upset about it.
I got a question, Tom. So I'm hearing, you know, a lot of technical stuff of what it's going to do for the brain. Dumb it down for me.
Okay.
Is it going to help me with memory? Is it going to help me with my mood? Give me some specific.
Here's the things that we know so far, okay? Because the research is still going on constantly. We know that there are 2 primary compounds. I'll name them. One's called erinacines and the other is hericenones. They're the ones that are really responsible for nerve repair, you know, support. What they do is, let's make it clear, they're not actually doing the nerve repair, but they're supporting the processes in the body that will repair the nerves, that will stimulate the stem cells, all of the things that we need to do. So for memory, for recall, for cognition, for, you know, learning new things, all of those things are benefited and have been shown to be benefited by human studies by lion's mane. Now, what they're also finding out, lion's mane, because it works in our gut, and this is interesting. You know, we talk about the gut being the second brain, right? Lion's mane actually works in the gut to help protect the lining of the intestinal tract. That's called our barrier tissue. So that, you know, barrier tissue is associated with all kinds of things, keeping everything inside the gut until it's digested to the proper level so that it doesn't get into the body and cause trouble. Mm-hmm. And so by supporting that gut barrier tissue, lion's mane is good for our second brain, our gut, and our microbiome. So there you have 2 things right there. You've got the brain and you've got the microbiome.
Yes.
And because of its effect on the microbiome, it's good for mood. It's good for sleep. So these are the things that are.
I like that. I like that. And by the way, he worked in our mantra. Everything starts in the gut. Say it with me, Claudia. Everything starts in the gut.
We say it all the time.
All the time. Nearly every episode.
But sometimes I think the gut's really the original brain, really. I mean, it's really regulating everything, isn't it, with the microbiome? So
Well,
it's quite amazing.
Our ancestors had a lot of wisdom around that. I can remember my grandmother on my mom's side telling me when I was about 5 years old, I was really upset and it was time to eat breakfast. And she said, "Oh, you probably shouldn't eat breakfast right now, Tommy. If you eat while you're upset, you won't digest it, and then you'll be upset all day long."
Right.
And that's exactly what's going on, that the whole microbiome gets thrown off, and it affects the way we think, the way we feel, the way we remember, all kinds of things.
You know, to that point, our 100th episode, we did, the people that have inspired me personally along my journey, starting with my mother. And I talked about Hannah Kroger. I was very blessed to learn from her.
Nice.
And in one of her books, she has a whole chapter on the gut is the emotion, and you don't want to eat when you're upset. So It's funny you just said that, because there's great wisdom in that.
Yeah, it'll just sit there because your gut is busy worrying,
Right.
So that leads me into another thing, that we have another product. Obviously, we have lion's mane, but we have another product called Stress Decompress. And literally, there we are. See,
there it is.
Decompress has lion's mane, and it also has reishi. Now, reishi mushroom is famous in China. It's considered the mushroom of immortality. It was reserved for the emperor, and it is a major adaptogen. Now, adaptogens mean it helps us adapt to stress levels, so that what could have been really seriously stressful, not such a big deal. Not such a big deal. When you combine that with lion's mane, which has that mood balancing effect, and then you put a couple of herbs in there, you put lemon balm and you put skullcap.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Favorite Western herbs, because they're not sedative. They're not going to make you go to sleep, but they're going to take the edge off. They're going to relax your musculature, or especially in your shoulders and your neck, where most of us kind of hang on to our stress. They're very good. Lemon balm is a nice digestive herb as well, so that we bring the gut back into it there.
Yes.
They help the body just transition into this. Okay, I can deal with this. This is not such a big. They don't make you feel sleepy. That doesn't make you feel like, okay, I'm so foggy now. I'm so groggy. I don't know what to do. It's actually, again, there's part of the lion's mane coming in to the rescue, so to speak. Like, okay, we'll calm you down, but we're going to make you be nice and clear. We want your mind clear. So
would you take these in the morning, like first thing, Tom?
You can take these just before you head into work if you want, and it's not going to make you feel like, okay, now that I'm at work, I'm going to go find a closet and hide out in the closet and take a nap. It's not a sedative. What it is it just is the combination allows your body to adjust to incoming stimuli in such a way that it doesn't throw you off.
Okay, I'm going to ask the question I know a lot of people are asking themselves that are watching
right now. Yes.
How long do you have to take these before you should feel some effect?
Okay, now I'm going to, now that you threw me the ambush, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to respond. Everybody is different. Now I can say it faster. Everybody's different, or I can say everybody is different, but It's the same thing. We're all going to be a little different. I've had people tell me that it worked within a day. Literally, oh my gosh, I feel this. I've had other people say, okay, I took your word for it. The first 2 days, I didn't feel anything. By the third day, I really noticed that, wow, this is something that's good for me. Part of that is the fact that you've got those two wonderful herbs in there. Those are really, really well-known, well-used, and very dependable herbs as far as calming the body. When you add the effect of the reishi and the lion's mane, you really do get a profound effect, because those are going to go deep. And because it's a capsule, here's the other, we're going to go back. Remember, everything begins in the gut. So we're going to go back to being a capsule. It's going down through your intestinal tract. All of your little intestinal cells that are there in the lining of your gut, sampling everything that's coming down, they're going to get the messages from the lion's mane and the reishi that they need to get to start rebalancing the way your body handles stress.
So you would take them both together?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily take them both together. They're going to work a little bit differently. The brain power stack is definitely going to energize you. I would probably say if I was going to be trying to focus on something, if I was studying, if I was doing my taxes, no pun intended there, I would take, I'll take the brain power stack first to do them, and then I'll take the stress decompress afterwards so that I can mellow out.
There you go.
So customers always ask the question he asked, how long is it going to take to kick in? And I always remind them, if you're junking out and the herb, the supplements have to work up against a mountain of sugar and junk, they may not work as effectively and as quickly as they could or would if you weren't junking out. So I do believe it a lot of it goes back to also what somebody is eating and drinking every day.
Well, yeah, it's the old computer adage turned into a digestive adage, garbage in, garbage out.
Right. Exactly.
All right. What else we got?
So I also brought the brain formula in a capsule just so people knew, they can see both.
Yeah.
Some people.
Here's what's interesting about those. Those two products, stress decompress and brain, and just brain, those are what we call our mycobotanical line. So myco meaning mushroom and botanical meaning herb. And so when we came out with that line about 9 years ago, almost about the time that I started with Host Defense, it was because people were still not getting mushrooms. That has changed completely.
Yes.
There's so many mushroom products now. There were maybe 40 companies with mushrooms in their products, only about 10 at the most that had just nothing but mushroom line when I started with Host Defense. Now there's over 170.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it's the hot thing. It's a huge category. Everybody wants a piece of it. But the interesting thing is that people didn't understand mushrooms back then, but they had been educated long enough. Like here I am, the herbal storyteller, telling herbal stories for 25 years.
Yes.
Hope people got it. And basically, they understood herbs. So if I said lemon balm, they knew, okay, that's kind of soothing and calming, right? Or if I said skullcap, they, yeah, that's also kind of calming. So if I put the lion's mane and the reishi and cordyceps together, and we'll explain that in a second, along with an herb from Ayurvedic medicine called bacopa and an herb from Western herbalism called ginkgo biloba, they understood ginkgo biloba, that's good for brain power. And if they were a little bit up on Ayurveda, they understood bacopa, okay, doesn't that work for memory? So if you combine that with lion's mane and reishi and cordyceps, they start to get, okay, well, maybe these mushrooms must have something to do with memory and brain power and everything. And that's the way it worked. So those three herbs, we know lion's mane, right? We know reishi, called the mushroom of immortality, an amazing mushroom. But cordyceps, why cordyceps? Cordyceps is a mushroom that enhances the amount of oxygen we uptake when we breathe in. So if you were an athlete, you'd call it VO2 max. I'm getting more oxygen. Why is that good? Because oxygen is important in every mitochondrial action, creating energy. So oxygen is where we get our energy, and the brain uses 25% of all the oxygen we breathe in.
Wow.
So I can enhance your oxygen uptake by giving you a cordyceps mushroom. Your brain's going to work better. Your muscles are going to work better. Your energy is going to work better. And it's modified by the reishi and the lion's mane.
Nature's pharmacy is so brilliant and beautiful and wonderful. And anymore, I find myself, my new line that I tell customers is, don't get drugged, get nourished.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's really what it comes down to. So you're going to hear me say that a lot more on the podcast.
I'm okay with that.
But it's true, right? These are all nourishing. They are positive. They are productive. They are giving the body the tools that it synergistically is meant to utilize for great benefit, for good health.
And in cases, we have receptors for all of those compounds.
It's amazing.
And it's hardwired into our body.
Yep. It's a beautiful synergy, the way we've been designed between the body and nature's pharmacy. So lovely.
Here's another product.
There's the last one.
There's the piece. All right. So now we look at the brain, okay, and we've got cordyceps, we've got reishi, we've got lion's mane. Now we look at breed. Now those are just those three mushrooms: cordyceps, reishi, and excuse me, cordyceps, reishi, and chaga in this case. So we switched out the lion's mane. We want chaga. Everybody's heard the word chaga. Oh yeah, chaga, I know that. That comes out of those birch trees and alder trees. It looks like a big chunk of coal. That's actually mushroom mycelium. It's not a fruit body. A lot of people thought it was a fruit body. It's mushroom mycelium. It's the rooting structure of the mushroom.
So wait a minute, explain that again. Explain so people understand what you're saying.
Okay, so when that mushroom, the chaga mushroom, it's a parasitic mushroom. It infests a tree, only specific types of trees. It's, like it has its favorite diet. So it likes birch, it likes beech, it likes alder trees. When it infects those trees, it's growing because it's a parasite, so it'll eventually kill the tree. It's growing from the outer edge where it came in, trying to get to the center of the tree, because that's the heartwood. As you know, when you look at a tree, if you cut it down, you'll see tree rings. Those rings are the years of growth. If it's a really, wet, nice year, you might have a very wide growth ring. If it's been a very dry, parched year, you might have a very narrow growth ring. Those narrow growth rings are very dense and hard to get through. So when the mycelium is trying to get to the middle of the tree, it's actually hits that narrow growth ring. And it's like, okay, I got to work on this, but it's still growing in the meantime. So it actually pushes out of the bark outside the tree. As soon as it comes outside of the tree, it's exposed to sunlight. What do we make in our skin when we are exposed to sunlight? We make,
right? D3?
We make melanin. It literally protects itself from so it doesn't get a sunburn. That mushroom has an affinity for what's called our epithelial cells. Now, the epithelial cells line our skin, they line our lungs, and they line our digestive tract. So by supporting the epithelial cells, it's actually protecting the lining of the lungs. And then we have the cordyceps, which is allowing the musculature around the lungs to relax a little bit so we can take a deeper breath. Not the shallow breath, but a deeper breath. It allows us to get more oxygen from that breath. That oxygen goes into our bloodstream, because that's what happens. And then it gets circulated through the body. 25% of it goes to the brain. And then the Reishi, again, is in there as a balancing. It helps with nerve generation. It helps with brain function. It helps with stress. So it's there as the modulator to keep everything nicely in balance. So that formula it's actually one of my favorite formulas in the whole company, because I have respiratory issues that I developed when I was in my 20s. I did a cattle call job to paint the inside of a building that had been burned out by a big fire. And we were spraying this noxious stuff called Kills. No respirator, no nothing. So since then, I've had problems with my lungs. That's one of the few products I've ever tried that really dials it in completely.
Beautiful. Wow. That was a great explanation.
Wow, that was awesome.
It makes me think about all these years, health food stores. Everybody always thought we were just a bunch of hippies sitting around doing nothing in those stores. And I'm going to tell you, we had a lot of amazing hippies in our industry, brilliant, doing some really, really important work. So thank you for all the years that you have been doing what you do.
Yeah.
And, what's the movie with Paul in it that was on Netflix?
Fantastic Fungi. Yeah.
It's a great film. I think it helped. Wonderful documentary. I think it really helped raise the awareness of everything we're talking about.
Right. One thing that it really did is it started getting more and more people thinking about using, as Denny was mentioning before we started airing, those funny mushrooms that have us see colors and different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
That film, where they interviewed people who were helping people at end of life stage, where they were dying and they were having trouble coping with that idea that I'm about to die, because that's it's a pretty heavy duty thing, and they were using psychedelic mushrooms to help them transition through that. They were using the recidivism In other words, if you go back, if you quit doing something, and if you have a recidivism, you go back to using it. The recidivism for alcoholics through AA, which is probably the most effective that out there, is still about 50%. The recidivism with people who have been using psychedelic mushrooms under a guided situation with somebody who knows how to do that is only 7%.
Wow.
Wow.
So, and the same is true with PTSD and everything else. The mushrooms are amazingly effective for helping people get through things that they need to get through. It's not just like, oh yeah, I'm going to go follow the dead and I'll take mushrooms and I'll dance. But it's a tool. And
Yes.
one of the things that Paul was so, it's so wonderful that he did, he and his friend is named Louis Schwartzberg. And Louis, I'm going to throw out, he has a website called Moving Arts. And because he takes videos, he does stop action photography, has been for years. His photography is so beautiful, so much nature photography. But he and Paul collaborated on that fantastic Fungi. And just an absolutely beautiful movie. If you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. Get it.
And I love how they showed in that movie how the mycelium it's the mycelium that connects, right?
Yeah.
It connects everything. And that's how it all talks to each other, right? Under the earth. So
it's on Netflix. So
it's
everybody,
on Netflix. It's pretty amazing.
Unfortunately, we are about out of time. So
He's the
anything else?
timekeeper.
Got to stay on time. Anyway, thank you as always, Tom.
Tom, wonderful to see you. So grateful for you.
Lots of love. Keep it up.
Yep. Thank you. Love you very much.
We need to help everybody as much as we can, especially.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Yes, absolutely.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
so much for being with us.
All right, guys.
All right.
See ya.
Thank you.
There you go. All right. So you know that, well, I've been sober for 6 months, but I smoke cigars. So maybe you need to take me on a trip with magic mushrooms to see if that will take away the urge to smoke cigars. Stay tuned for an upcoming episode when Denny tries the magic mushrooms. No, I'm kidding.
That's funny.
All right, Claudia, great episode as always.
Yeah,
Tom, great guest, a lot of information. I mean, he truly is the storyteller, the
Oh
herbal
my
storyteller.
goodness, he's wonderful.
He's got great stories. Remember, share this podcast, people.
Yeah.
Share it. Let's get the word out to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
And like always, let's give you the last word.
Well, remember, everybody, don't get drugged, get nourished.
I like it.
That's my new say. But it's very true. You want to do something positive for yourself, nourish, whether it's with healthy food, all these beautiful products we're talking about every week. They're there. Everyone can access them. They're beautiful. They help people feel better. And I always say, no one wants to feel crummy. Every time I say, raise your hand if you want to be sick, nobody ever raises their hand. So we're teaching all these different things. We're learning as we go. That's the beauty of teaching. We learn as we go. And so anyway, we appreciate you guys tuning in, and keep the faith, everybody, and nourish yourself. Peace.